Hi everybody, this is Karen. So today's the day that I'm going to take you through doing a vinyl project step by step. First thing we need to do is decide on what design we're going to use. I want to put a phrase on my door. It's going to be not that large because it's going to fit into a 12 by 12 space. No, I think I'm going to make it wider on the door. I'm going to leave it this way to cut out, but instead of it looking like this, I'm going to show you what I'm going to do. First, I'm going to ungroup it so that I can move things around. I'm going to be moving, whoops, I have to ungroup it again. Sometimes you have to ungroup several times. And once you see that each of these things is its own separate piece, then you know that you're ready to go ahead. I'm going to move place over here, right next to the rest of it. Grab all of this and whoops, choose it again and slide, because I'm choosing the wrong thing. I need to choose the whole box and move it over here and make this a little bit smaller so that it's the same size as happy. And I can see whether it is or not by moving the word over the word happy, the P in happy, and there, that's pretty much the same size. And I want that to align to the same place as the word happy. So I'm going to select both of them, use this align function over here, and I'm going to align them to the bottom. That moves place down to the same as happy. And I think I also want to slide it over a little bit, the two of these words, happy and place. Actually, happy should be separated from place a little bit more. And then I'll move both of these over slightly so that it's a little bit wider. So I can select everything in my design to see how wide it is. I'm going to group it together so that it gives me a dimension for all of it. So it's 19 inches wide and 4.6 inches high. I'm just going to go and measure my door and I'll be right back. I told you this is step by step. So my door is almost 30 inches wide. So this would leave 5 inches on either side. I think maybe I'm going to make it just slightly bigger. I'm going to say 22 inches wide. So that still leaves a good 4 inches on either side of my phrase. Whoops, I could also do it exactly. There we go. I've got it. So it's now 22 inches wide and 5.14 inches high. I think that's going to look very good. And later on, I can always add additional stuff to this, but for now, this is what it's going to be. I am going to also change the word our to the word my. So I need to ungroup this again. I'm going to move the word our out of the way for now, and I'm going to type the word my. I went through my fonts earlier and saw that one that looks quite similar to what was used here is Street Script. So that's what I'm going to use for the word my. And I'm going to make it a little bit bigger so that it's about similar to what our was. That's about it. And I'm going to weld the word and I'm going to put it on an angle. And you see, sometimes you have options to make your letter bold, italic, or underline, but that's not always the case. I think in this case, no, you can't do anything. So to make this more of an italic letter, or italic letters like our was, I'm going to shear my shape. And to do that, I clicked on this shear window icon at the top of the screen, and I'm going to take these handles and drag them so that it italicizes my text. Maybe I need to do a little bit something else. I think that pretty much looks okay. And then I'm going to move this over to here. Actually, it does need to change a bit. I'm going to rotate it a bit. There we go. And that looks pretty much lined up to this decoration here. So now that that's done, I'm going to weld those two shapes together. I select the word my, well, it's actually already selected, and I'm just going to select this decoration and weld them. And I've done that. Okay, I can delete the word our now. This could be maybe a little bit bigger. And then move down this way a bit. And then that's exactly what I want for my door, because this is my happy place. Okay, so now to cut this, there are a few options. I can either turn this sideways and put it on a 24-inch mat. I can cut it without a mat, or I can split this up into sections so that I can cut it on a 12-inch mat. Either way can work. I'm going to do it on a 12-inch mat because I think this will give more people the benefit of seeing how it can be done. The other methods work very well too. It's just that everybody doesn't have a 24-inch mat. If you did want to do it on a 24-inch mat, I'll show you that quickly so that you see it as well. I'm going to group this again so that nothing goes into the wrong place. Now I want to rotate this 90 degrees to put it on the side. I'm going to change my mat size. I always forget which one of these is the mat. Is it this one? Modify window? No. No, not that one. It must be the page tools. That's it. Okay, so here I change my mat to 12 by 24. Okay, it takes it sideways. Okay, so I'll rotate this back. That's all. Put it back another 90 degrees. Of course, now it's upside down. Another 90 and another 90, and it brings it right back to where it should be. So now I'm going to change my paper size as well. Go back to the page window and let's see here. My length is going to need to be longer, so I'm going to make this 24 inches. Okay, now it takes it back that way. Software can make you crazy sometimes. So we'll rotate it back to the 90 degrees and place this where I want it on my mat. So the steps to that were you need to change your mat size and you need to change your paper size if you're going to use a mat. If you're not going to use a mat, do this as well, but then choose no mat when you choose your cutting options. I'll show you what that is. This is your cut settings, I should say. When you click Send to Silhouette, it's going to give me an error because my machine is not turned on. In your settings, you need to click Change Settings. Over here, clear the cutting mat option. Just take that tick away and then you'll be all set. So I'm going to close this window and I'm going to go back to setting up for a 12 by 12 mat. And I prefer to cut vinyl on a mat. I never had a problem before, and then one time I did. The piece of vinyl was starting to slide all over the place, even though I had my vinyl under the rollers and everything. I just don't want to take a chance anymore. I'm going to go back to 12 by 12 as my cutting mat and 12 by 12 as my paper. So now I need to rotate my text again so that I can see what I'm doing properly. And instead of doing 90 degrees that way, I'll do it, whoops, I need to select it first. Do it this way so that I don't have to do it 3 times. So to fit on my mat, I'm going to ungroup this and I'm going to move place down here and I'm going to move these parts up over here. I'm going to also need to move this part into here. Let's take these 2 pieces and move them up a bit. And it doesn't really matter that you're doing this. You're probably thinking, oh my goodness, where am I going to put everything after? You'll just figure it out on your surface. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't have to be exactly right. And you can use tape on your door to make yourself a straight line. I'll show you how to do that later. So I also want to bring this closer together so that I'm not wasting too much material. And now I can cut this out on a 12 by 12 mat. Now I'm going to show you how to create weeding lines that are going to make it a whole lot easier for you to weed the vinyl once you've finished cutting your phrase here. On the left side of the screen, click the Draw a Line icon, then hold down the Shift key and draw a line across your work. Don't worry that it's crossing it, we're going to fix all of that later. You're holding the Shift key so that it draws a perfectly straight line. I'm now going to copy this line down to the bottom of my work. To select a line, remember that once you finish drawing, always click the select arrow at the very top left of your screen and select the item. I'm going to open the replicate window by clicking the icon at the top right of the screen here. And I need to go into the advanced options. I'm going to choose 6 copies. I've done this several times now, and 6 or 7 copies usually ends up working well for me. I'm going to choose custom position. My X position, X-axis position needs to be 0, and my Y needs to be 1.5. When I click replicate, it's going to copy those lines down my work to make it much easier to weed my pieces. You'll see what I mean when I'm doing the actual weeding. I'm just going to check my work now to see if the placement of the lines are going to interfere too much with my work and make it just a little bit too difficult. I'm thinking that this line is maybe a little bit close to some of that, because don't forget that vinyl rips very easily and you don't want to take too many chances on that happening. It was actually better closer to the letters because then it wasn't touching that flourish. Let me see the rest of it. That's looking fine. There isn't that much detail in this cut. Now that my lines are exactly where I want them, I'm going to select my artwork and move it off of the mat to be out of my way. I should have grouped my artwork before, but it's easy enough to select them and do that now. So I'm going to hold down the Shift key and select each piece of my artwork. And with them all selected, I'll right-click and group these items, and then I'll move them off to the side of my mat. I now need to select all of my lines, right-click, and make a compound path. Then I move my artwork back onto my mat, placing it where I want it to cut. I'm watching for this line here so that it's not cutting through my flourish up here. With that done, I will again select my artwork, right-click, and copy, right-click again, and then paste in front. And when it's brighter red like that, it shows that you have 2 copies. I now need to select my lines, and they're on the side over here. And since it's a compound path, I only need to select one of them for them all to be selected. So with my one piece of artwork selected, I will hold down my Shift button and click the lines so that now one piece of artwork and the lines are selected. Now I'm going to move to my Modify window up here on the right, and I'm going to click Subtract. What this is going to do is it's going to move, or I should say remove the lines from within your letters, because otherwise the silhouette will cut through your letters. Watch what happens now. You see that you've got the lines in the back, but your letters are not being cut through. This is exactly what you want. Now you're ready to cut.